"Sir, why do you eat alone every night?" Waitress asked a millionaire CEO. His answer froze her. Every night without fail, the same man sat at the same corner table, ordered the same meal, and left without a single word to anyone. But tonight, everything was about to change. If this story hits you right in the heart, make sure you smash that like button. Share this with someone who needs to hear it today. Drop a comment telling us your thoughts. And subscribe to Trillionaire in Love so you never miss a story like this one. We have so many more emotional journeys waiting for you. Her name was Mara. She was 26 years old, working the evening shift at one of the most expensive restaurants in the city, a place called The Ember. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, and waiters who spoke in whispers. Mara didn't belong there, not really. She had taken the job 3 months ago to pay for her younger brother's college tuition after their mother fell ill. Every night she wore her uniform like armor and smiled like it came easy, even when it didn't. The man in the corner was a mystery to everyone at the Ember. His name was Daniel Reeves, 42 years old, founder and CEO of Reeves Global, a company worth billions. He had built an empire from nothing, and the entire city knew his name. But inside that restaurant, he was just a quiet man who ordered grilled salmon, a glass of red wine, and silence. Mara had noticed him on her very first night. Not because of his expensive suit or the way the other staff whispered about him. She noticed him because of the sadness in his eyes. It was the kind of sadness that money could never touch. Deep, hollow, and old. Every night he sat alone. No phone calls. No business meetings. No companions. Just him, his food, and whatever weight he was carrying inside his chest. For weeks Mara said nothing. She refilled his water, brought his dessert, and thanked him politely. He never looked up for long. He would nod, leave a generous tip, and disappear into the night like a ghost who had briefly stepped into the light. But one Wednesday evening, something shifted inside Mara. Maybe it was the exhaustion from caring for her mother all day before her shift. Maybe it was the frustration of watching someone who had everything the world could offer sit there, drowning in loneliness night after night. Or maybe it was simply the fact that Mara understood what it felt like to be completely alone in a room full of people. She walked up to his table with his usual check. He reached for his wallet without looking up. And then Mara did something no one at the Ember had ever dared to do. "Sir," she said softly, "why do you eat alone every night?" The entire restaurant seemed to hold its breath. Daniel's hand froze over his wallet. His jaw tightened. For a moment, Mara thought she had made the biggest mistake of her life. His eyes slowly rose to meet hers, and what she saw in them was not anger. It was shock. Pure raw shock, as if no one had asked him that question in years. Maybe ever. He didn't answer right away. He simply stared at her, and Mara could swear she saw something crack behind his expression, something that had been sealed shut for a very long time. "Sit down," he said quietly. It wasn't a command. It was a request. Mara hesitated. Her manager would be furious. She could lose her job. But something about the way Daniel looked at her, vulnerable, almost desperate, made her pull out the chair across from him and sit. He was quiet for a long time. Then he spoke. "My wife used to sit right where you're sitting now." Mara's heart dropped. Her name was Claire. We used to come here every Friday. It was our placement, no business talk, no distractions. Just us. His voice was steady, but his hands were not. She passed away 3 years ago, cancer. It took her in 4 months. Mara said nothing. She just listened. After she died, I couldn't eat at home. Everything there reminded me of her. So I started coming here. Same table, same seat, same meals she used to order for me. He paused. I come here because it's the one place where I feel like she's still with me. Even if it's just in my imagination. The silence between them was heavy but not uncomfortable. It was the kind of silence that only exists between two people who have both known loss. But it's lonely, Mara whispered. Daniel looked at her with an expression that was almost grateful. Yes, he said, it is. What happened next surprised them both. Mara told him about her mother, about how she juggled shifts and hospital visits and college, payments with nothing but determination and a breaking heart. She told him how some nights, after everyone else was asleep, She sat alone in the dark kitchen and cried quietly so no one would hear. Daniel listened without interrupting. For the first time in 3 years, someone was sitting across from him and truly seeing him, and he was doing the same for her. That night, Mara left the Ember with something she hadn't felt in months: hope. Over the following weeks, a quiet friendship began to form. Daniel started arriving a little earlier on Wednesdays, and Mara would sit with him for a few minutes before her shift began. They talked about small things at first: books, music, memories, but gradually the conversations went deeper. Daniel learned about Mara's dreams of becoming a teacher. Mara learned about Claire, about the way she laughed, the way she made Daniel slow down and actually live his life. But misunderstanding came, as it always does. One evening, a colleague of Mara's noticed the two of them talking and began spreading rumors. Word reached her manager that Mara was getting too close to a wealthy client. He pulled her aside and warned her that her behavior was unprofessional and that if it continued, she would be let go. Mara, afraid of losing her only source of income, made a painful decision. She stopped sitting with Daniel. She went back to being polite, distant, and professional. Daniel noticed immediately. For 2 weeks, Mara avoided eye contact, kept her responses short, and never lingered at his table. He tried to speak to her, but she always had somewhere to be. The distance hurt him more than he expected. He had just begun to feel human again, and now it felt like the walls were closing in once more. One night, after closing, Daniel asked to speak with the manager directly. He didn't threaten. He didn't demand. He simply told the truth, that Mara had shown him a kindness no one else had in years, and that punishing her for being compassionate said everything about the establishment and nothing about her character. He then did something remarkable. He offered to fund Mara's brother's education in full, not as a transaction, but as a quiet act of gratitude for the moment she gave him back his humanity. When Mara found out, she was speechless. She went to Daniel's table the next evening, tears in her eyes, and asked him why. He smiled, a real smile, the kind Claire would have loved, and said, "Because you were the first person in 3 years who didn't see a billionaire sitting at that table. You saw a man, and you asked if he was okay. That's worth more than anything money could ever buy." Mara wiped her tears and laughed softly. "Claire sounds like she was an incredible woman." "She was," Daniel said, "and I think she would have loved you." From that night on, Mara never stopped showing up, not just at the Ember, but in the lives of the people around her. She finished her teaching degree, funded by Daniel's quiet generosity and her own relentless spirit. Daniel, in turn, began opening up again, volunteering, mentoring young entrepreneurs, and yes, still visiting the Ember on Fridays. But now the table across from him wasn't always empty. Sometimes it was Mara, sometimes it was a colleague or a friend. The chair Claire once occupied had become a symbol, not of absence, but of invitation, because the truth is, loneliness is not about being alone. It is about feeling unseen, and all it takes is one person, one brave, compassionate person, to look at someone and say, "I see you. You matter." Mara taught us that courage isn't always loud. Sometimes it's a quiet question asked at the right moment that changes everything. And Daniel taught us that no amount of success can fill the void that only human connection can heal. The greatest wealth any of us will ever have is not found in bank, accounts, or corner offices. It is found in the people who choose to stay, who sit down across from us in our darkest moments and simply say, "Tell me everything." If this story moved you, if it made you feel something deep inside, then hit that like button right now. Share this with someone in your life who eats alone and needs to know they are not invisible. Leave a comment below and tell us, have you ever been the person who asked, or the person who needed someone to ask? And most importantly, subscribe to Trillionaire in love. There are so many more stories just like this one waiting for you. Stories that will make you laugh, cry, and believe in the beauty of human connection all over again. See you in the next one.